Quick note before we start. This episode is about a real war. Real people on every side have died in it. We've handled it with care, not clicks. Right now, two of the most powerful militaries on Earth are playing a game with each other. And you're in it too. You pay your move at the pump. The headlines call it the Iran War. Missiles, blockades, a ceasefire that keeps dying. And one stretch of water the whole world is suddenly obsessed with. The Strait of Hormuz, about 21 miles wide at its narrowest. On a normal day, a fifth of the world's oil sails through it. Since March, almost nothing has. First, the honest part. Thousands of people have been killed in this war. Soldiers and civilians in Iran, Lebanon, Israel, and the Gulf. Every number tonight has families behind it. The internet did what it does. Picked teams, crowned villains, went to war in the comments. We're not doing that. No sides today, just the board. Because under the noise, this is a game we've played before. Episode 8, two cars, one road, who swerves? Only now the cars are countries, and one of them just threw its steering wheel out the window. Quick rewind, no sides, just moves. February 28th, the United States and Israel launch a surprise attack on Iran. Bases, nuclear sites, leaders, while both sides were still sitting at the negotiating table. Iran hit back across the region, and on March the 4th, it made the move this whole episode is about. It shut the Strait of Hormuz. Not with a wall, with drones, missiles, speedboat swarms, and something much more boring and much more powerful. Insurance. Make the water scary enough, and nobody will insure a tanker through it. The result, in the words of the International Energy Agency, the largest supply disruption in the history of oil. $70 oil hit 126. And the bill came to you. American pumps jumped $1.16 a gallon. Slovenia is rationing fuel. The Philippines declared its first energy emergency ever. One U.S. airline simply stopped flying. Now the twist nobody posts about. Who does closing Hormuz hurt? Barely America. It sells more energy than it buys. 84% of that oil was going to Asia, China, India, Japan, Iran's best customers and closest friends. Strangest of all, Iran's own oil money sails through that same strait. Iran didn't just blockade its enemies, it blockaded itself. Why would a player set fire to their own wallet? Hold that question. It unlocks everything. But first, meet the real player of this game, not a president, not a general. The captain of an oil tanker waiting at anchor outside the Gulf. Behind her, $100 million of crude and a crew of 25. Ahead, 21 miles of water with drones above it and mines under it. And this morning, the insurers stopped picking up the phone. You're the captain. Head office is pushing. The cargo's worth a fortune. The water is probably fine. Sail or refuse? Lock it in. Thousands of captains, crews, and insurance clerks quietly made the same call. Not me. Not today. That's the secret of Hormuz. There is no wall, just 10,000 sensible people all saying no. Now zoom out because the big game has a name. Chicken. Two cars race head-on. Swerve and you lose face. Neither swerves and nobody ever loses anything again. Tehran's car. The strait stays shut until the pressure lifts. Washington's car. Blockade and bomb until Tehran folds. Both floored. Because swerving means backing down in front of the entire planet. And the crash? You're living in the mild version already. The full version is a wider war and a global recession. Everybody loses, including everyone watching from the cheap seats. So how do you win at chicken? Game theorist Thomas Schelling gave the famous answer. Convince the other driver that you can't swerve. Rip off your steering wheel and wave it out the window. It sounds insane. It's the smartest insane there is. If he knows you can't turn, his only sane move is turning first. Giving up control becomes the strongest move on the board. Now look at Hormuz again. A threat that costs you nothing convinces nobody. Iran burning its own oil money week after week? That's the steering wheel sailing out the window. See? We cannot back down. And the other car? All caps posts. No deal but unconditional surrender. Demands so loud they'd be humiliating to walk back. Different style, exact same move. Weld your hands to the wheel in public. Which leaves a terrifying bit of math. Chicken ends safely only if somebody can still swerve. When both wheels go out the window, the crash stops being a risk. It becomes the schedule. If watching the game underneath the news is your thing, that's this whole channel. Subscribe. Now. Why can't they just call a truce? They tried. This is where it gets worse. April the 8th. Pakistan brokers a ceasefire, and the missiles mostly pause. But the strait stays shut. The deal wobbles for weeks, and this week it collapsed. The strikes are back. Game theory isn't surprised. Remember how the war began. A surprise attack in the middle of negotiations. Whatever you think of that move, it has a price. The price is that now, nobody's promise is believable. We met this in episode 7. Tit for tat. Cooperation only survives when both sides believe in tomorrow. Break one deal, and every future deal gets priced as a lie. Economists call it the commitment problem. Both sides might honestly prefer peace. Neither can trust the other to keep it. So both keep paying for a war neither can cleanly win. The handshake itself is broken. So instead of peace mirrors, since mid-April, an American naval blockade wraps around Iran. A blockade answering a blockade. 2 padlocks on the same stretch of sea. And every week leaving gets pricier. Each strike demands an answer. Each funeral hardens a public. Leaders who promise victory can't sell a compromise. The longer the drive, the harder the swerve. Meanwhile, quieter games are running. Information first. Both capitals say they're winning. Bases flattened, missiles crippled, victory close. Those claims can't all be true. In chicken, they don't have to be. Because chicken is played inside the other driver's head. If looking unstoppable makes him swerve, then looking unstoppable is the strategy. The fog of war isn't a side effect here. It's a weapon. Second, the panic game. Fuel shortages are partly self-built. Queues cause panic buying, and panic buying causes queues. A rumor can drain a city's petrol before the shortage even arrives. Your local station runs Persian Gulf logic. And the blame game, of course. Half the internet says one side started it, half says the other had it coming. Notice what both halves skip, how it ends. A faraway war makes excellent ammunition. So how does chicken ever end without a crash? Not with a winner. There's one move that reliably works, and it already saved the world once. October 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Soviet missiles in Cuba, American warships blockading the island. The closest we've ever come to nuclear war. 2 drivers, no swerve in sight. Sound familiar? What ended it wasn't toughness. It was a secret side deal. The Soviets pull their missiles out of Cuba publicly, and America quietly pulls its missiles out of Turkey on the condition nobody brags. Look at the trick. Khrushchev could tell his people he'd won a concession. Kennedy could tell his people he'd given nothing. Both drivers swerved. Neither looked like the chicken. The exit was built in the dark. That's the move. You don't end a game of chicken by pushing the other driver harder. You end it by making his swerve cheap, an exit he can sell at home as a win. Which is why the most important players right now may be the quietest. Qatari and Pakistani mediators shuttling between capitals. They're not background characters. They're trying to build the off-ramp exactly where the cameras aren't. Will they pull it off? We don't do crystal balls. Maybe a deal sticks. Maybe the blockades freeze into a long, grinding squeeze, a contest of who bleeds slower. The board may move again tonight, but the game won't. 2 drivers welded to their wheels, a broken handshake, and a whole world paying the fare. Whatever tomorrow's headline says, you now know what you're looking at. So here's the whole thing in one line. Nobody wins a game of chicken. You survive it by building the other driver a road to swerve onto before you need one yourself. 2 fights for the comments. 1, throwing away your steering wheel. Genius or madness? Would you ever do it on purpose? 2, you're the mediator. Design the off-ramp both sides can call a win. Best one gets pinned. Next time, the strategy where the winning move is convincing the world you've lost your mind. The madman theory. It's real, it has a track record, and you've probably used it on a sibling.
Wait, both drivers threw their steering wheels away?
Yep, hope someone kept a brake pedal.
For the hidden game behind the news, every week, subscribe. And whatever you're paying at the pump this week, go easy on each other.